selling as much as we saw from Nesh. So I'm looking forward to later on in the series where we might see some head-to-head duels. We can really get that comparison going.
Yeah, I mean, if you said to anyone who watched last week, who were your standout Widowmaker players? Sadly, Kenzie probably won't sit in the top 3, maybe even top 5. Inconsistency was his problem last week, I think, because on some of the maps, he did perform pretty well. In fact, his Roadhog was sick at one point. I remember seeing that and thinking, that road, that was clean. Widow still needs a bit of work, I think. So I'm excited to see if they've had a bit of time in this over the last week to go, what didn't work out for us last week? For example, Unfixed on the Pharah wasn't a big one for them. His Widowmaker for Kenzie wasn't huge either. If they've worked on that over the last week, that's when we can see them start taking games away, and we know they can do it based on the merit of play we saw from them last week.
Absolutely. We're not expecting to see any Widowmakers on the par. What we can see is some Pharahs, though. Potentially Danye going to be taking that on with his co-pilot, Mono.
I'd really like as well that we're finally seeing a Reaper getting picked up. Didn't see it at all last week, I don't think, but Unfixed opting to bring it here, of course. Very, very good when you're fighting on this high ground. It's very, very tight with a lot of walled-off areas around you. Makes it quite safe to bring out the Reaper onto this point. Meanwhile, for Puppies, they've gone for the more kind of long-range fight, you might say. Coming through here with Danye, for example. And Forsaken, he's been looking for them pickoffs.
Yeah, and Unfixed, he's going to be riding around that front line, trying to whittle through the tanks of Bazooka Puppies. So they've got a solid hold on the point at the moment. You saw Danye picking away with those rockets from the outskirts. CIS Hope, though, they seem to have control of this point, and it looks like they may be going ahead for a first point take.
If they didn't have control of this point with 3.5 tanks, you may as well consider like Unfixed a lifesteal tank at this point. It would be very surprising if Puppies managed to force their way in. However, Danye's going to open up the kills.
Yeah, with the Coalescence, going to rattle through Danye. Yeah, he managed to get the barrage onto Chow and Sharek, shutting those down. Kenzie from the side gets the D-Mech as well. And then look at Unfixed, he's still rolling around. Winston's going to struggle, pops the Primal Rage, gives himself an extra HP pool. Danye out of nowhere after the resurrection from Mono keeps the fight going.
That was really impressive that everyone got their ults available so quickly there, but the Puppies will, by the looks of it, slowly force them away, almost taking the point over, but all the members of Hope have got back onto the point.
And yet again, CIS Hope, it's these strong tank lines. Running that triple tank, going to keep them nice and healthy. Because of the closed-in nature of this map, it's hard for long-range attackers to get in there. So the Reaper pick really paying dividends for CIS Hope right now.
There was a big one with Meza there where he had his ultimate, managed to force CIS off the point, which meant they had to fall back as a team, recollect their thoughts, and come back in once again. The problem is once he was gone, there's no staying power for this team. They're all ranged. No one wants to stay in a fight for too long or even be involved in the first place. So CIS have got the more favourable comp at the minute. We need to see something smart come out of the Puppies. Oh, the grab!
Excellent shutdown there from Kenzie. Immediately disrupts the barrage. Self-destruct going out onto the point. Mono obviously going to keep that resurrection for his co-pilot. Gets him back up into the air, but the whole hog peppering everyone off the point. And Nesh trying to get up close and personal with this Tracer, but still can't seem to find that damage into those HP bars. Sound barrier dropped. Unfixed gets another kill, adds another notch to the shotgun, and they're going to keep on going up into the skies.
Puppies have got to change something around here. This comp is not working out for them, and yes, they are on some of their strongest picks. Nesh's Tracer was also amazing alongside the Widow last week, but because they've got this more in-and-out kind of style, Danye wanting to harass from afar, Nesh wanting to get in there, get some chip damage down and get back out. Look at the staying power on the other side, even with things like the Moira, with the things as well like Kenzie on the Roadhog. We've seen what he can do already, and Unfixed on this Reaper, they just cannot force them off this point, and they're very close to losing. They've got to do something soon, Tridd.
But they've got to find an entry point onto it. At the moment, they've been playing around the outskirts. You've had Nesh diving in and out. He's going for a flank on the barrage at the moment. There was an Earth Shatter to lock it all up. Concussion Blast to reconnect. There's no hook available, and they take them all out, but good eating there from the Matrix to shut down the rest of that barrage. Death Blossom going to clear out the point yet again, so CIS Hope, despite losing multiple members, still in control.
Good stuff by Danye. I like the flanking motion that he went for there, but again, they've lost all the wind in their sails. Most of their members are out of this fight, and again, Meza with the ultimate will actually be able to bring down Unfixed, which is a big one. The question is now, can they take the point away?
Yeah, and they're going to try and go for another attack. They have to keep throwing their bodies at this point. 99% for CIS Hope. It's forced out the overtime. Nesh dives in just a fraction too late, and CIS Hope take round one.
We spoke to these guys before and asked them what they thought of this game coming up, and they said, we think we've got the Puppies figured out. We know what they're going to do, we know where their strengths lie, and we know how to counter it. And we said last week, CIS always claim their strengths, because they don't play to their own strengths, they play to the weaknesses of the other team. They have just shown that in buckets there, because everything that they brought to the party on the side of the Puppies, CIS had a response to.
Well, we were touting CIS team as more of the reactive type. They didn't have to adapt at all there because they had the plan figured out. So if you have a more reactive team already with the solid plan, they've clearly done their homework here, like you said, Des, and I'm expecting them to keep on this momentum.
It's always a big question as well for the Puppies. What do you go for in that case to try and stop things? Because Danye, no doubt, stronger on the Pharah than he is most other picks that we've seen from him. His Genji wasn't bad either, but playing Genji in something like the Reaper with the 3 tanks, bit of a suicide mission, to be honest with you. So the only thing they could do there is try and match it. And you're coming up against Sharek, who's, let's not forget, Big player in the past as well, been in a lot of teams in EU. Very, very solid frontline leading this team.
Yeah, and Unfix off the Reaper now onto that Sombra. We saw some interesting picks come out on this stage of Nepal, and now Unfix is going to translocate back to that health pack. Nearly got the pick on the far, but it's actually Chow who finds the kill. Sharik shuts down any hope for a resurrection as well.
Yep, off the map, sadly, not going to be resurrecting anyone down there and that far away, but it's the same as last map. We're seeing the same thing with a bit of a twist coming through rather than the Reaper going for the Sombra, and we're seeing exactly why. He played it on Ilios last week, and he's using it to great effect here, just being a nuisance if nothing else, and those hacks, it's going to make it so hard for Meta to get away.
Yeah, well, a hack immediately after a hook shuts down any mobility coming out from Meta. So, at the moment, Bazooka Puppiez still dancing around. They need to find into the point. This is a repeat of round one, Des. They just can't get onto this point at the moment. And it's not even down to the... Oh, it is down to the triple tank, sorry. They're still running it, but they just swapped out their DPS option. And you've got Main and Eng on those two supports as well. Typically what you'd see with those more tank-heavy compositions for that quick and all-round healing composition.
This is where a bit of an experience is starting to shine for the Puppies, because they feel a bit lost. They haven't mixed up their picks at all between the two maps. They've stayed with what they think works, but they've seen time and time again that it doesn't. They have lost countless fights now. And we always call out teams who don't go for the changes and try and adapt to the situation. That's exactly what the Puppies are doing. So we may have sung their praises last week. So far, it's not the strongest showing that we wanted to see from them.
Well, Danye baits him out the back and repositions around. Coalescence being popped. He's got that barrage, but he's being very conscious of Kenzie.
Oh.
Immediately ends up killing himself, because I believe the self-destruct went right in front of him, parked down and blocked all the shots. So I think that's going to have to be Bazooka Puppiez backing off yet again, and they're getting closer to that point where they're going to get to that 90%. It becomes less about the patience, more about just throwing bodies at the point, trying to stall out that overtime. Dire for the Puppies right now.
I wish we'd seen Danye switch onto something else here as well. Again, the Genji isn't the best thing getting picked into this. If you get hacked by the Sombra, you're done for against a triple tank lineup, but at least would have tried something else. It's a lot better than ramming your head against a brick wall that is CIS hope and praying for something to work, because even picks like this, staggering out the Zenyatta, that is big.
Well, I guess a resurrection straight from Mono, so not as big as we'd like to see it. Nice resurrection. Here is the whole hog keeping them inside that room. Transcendence being popped, going to dance away, and CIS hope trying to keep them out of this entire area. Bazooka Puppiez having to regroup right now for what will be their final push.
Yeah, Meta switching over to the Junkrat for a second was kind of a panic for them. We saw them do something very, very similar on First Point Numbani last week. Wasn't going their way, it paid off for them then, didn't pay off for them here. And again, it's that concern for me, is that it's a bit of a panic. It doesn't look like there's any kind of structure to what they're trying to do. They're not thinking on their feet. If they don't react soon, CIS are going to start taking away more and more maps from them.
Well, it seems like CIS had the perfect strategy for them. They ran the triple tank. Danye was pretty much shut out of that entire situation.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you look at the two rounds we had first, we had Village and we also had Shrine. These two are quite encased or enclosed with the geography of the maps. And Danye just couldn't find a good or safe angle, shall we say, to get that damage out.
That's kind of where I'd like to see some change coming through again. You know, if a Widowmaker had come out there, for example, would have been shut out as well. But Kenzie stuck by that road, to be fair. He said, we don't need the Widow here. We can deal with it as is. And rightly so. Every single time that ult went off, Kenzie was there.
Well, they're going to have to think up of a new plan as they get ready for map 2. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you more Overwatch Contenders action. Welcome back. We're about to jump into map 2. We're going to take a quick recap of map 1 so far, and really it was all about the tanks of CIS Hope in that previous matchup.
Absolutely. I mean, as we went into the break there, me and you both said, that was a really quick, quiet match. There was one thing you could touch on, which was basically the triple tank lineup coming out of CIS and the lack of response from Puppiez. That was the big disappointing thing for me, and I want to see them change it up for second map. Well,
we're on to Numbani. We know what Daniel is going to run. He'll run that Pharah again. Not sure if it's going to have the same effect. We saw it against Mosaic. They ran a triple tank composition, and it wasn't as effective. Yes, they did cap that point A and move it into the escort section, but it wasn't very fast, and it wasn't very safe.
It's like we mentioned at the very end of that last map. We said last week that we saw Meta take over the Junkrat on the last push, go for the single tank with the Winston, and just the amount of damage coming out of them. We've all seen how fast a Junkrat can melt those shields of a Reinhardt, for example. That was their key to winning the first point. Problem was, it took them about 3 minutes to realize that last week. So hopefully here, they start off with it and they go for the big push.
Well, on to Numbani. I mean, it's the lesser picked map out of the Hollywood. Hollywood is the more favorable one after week 1. We haven't got a lot of data on that, but that will grow over the season.
You love your spreadsheet,
I love it. Made a beautiful, beautiful little spreadsheet that's not for this week, because it's not. You don't have a lot of map data with
but
the
next
picks,
week, you're bringing it to the table.
Next week, we're bringing out some percentages. Next week, we're bringing out some trends.
When we love numbers and maths.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I failed maths, so. Well, I don't know. I got an E.
Puppiez is as well, because they haven't calculated the path to victory just yet. Things looking a bit shaky for them. Again, we said it so many times, they've got to change things up here and be willing to try something new. CIS hope they can do more of the same. We always say the onus is on the losing team to change things up and come up with a new plan to be able to defeat those who are bettering you. Unfixed. Now, this is one thing I wanted to touch on that we didn't really find in the last map, is this Pharah versus Pharah matchup. Unfixed versus Darnier. Both had amazing performances. In fact, last week, EG had no response to Unfixed on the Pharah. All they could do was start bringing out the Widow and try and get some Soldier in there as well to melt him down. That was their big ploy. Here, this is going to be a very much so a direct matchup. You keep pointing at... I know! Let me finish my point, man. Come on.
Right, but what I was pointing at actually is the fact that Eng is on Torbjorn. So an interesting shake-up. Going to be running that solo support at the moment with main. Obviously, you get the armor from Torbjorn as well.
Yeah.
So you're going to get some kind of quasi-healing, shall we say. You get some health boost. You can compensate for some stuff. But will Bazooka Puppiez be aware of this going in?
This is good, because the comp they've taken here is all about the dive as well. They've got full dive on the go. They want to get into the backline and bring this down. So CIS, probably unknowingly here, have drafted themselves into a bit of a losing matchup, because if main gets brought down here, they have no healing, and the team may just drop incredibly quickly afterwards.
Well, we're on to the point A offense at the moment. So we've got a double dive composition coming out from Bazooka Puppiez, Danye and Nesh. They need to dive on. I don't think they've spotted out the Torb just yet, but when the turrets start flying, they'll surely know. So they're going to clash over the high ground at the moment. Jarek, he's lingering underneath that bridge.
Still kind of poising just for that first push. I think Puppiez are just trying to kind of scope out what the situation is, understand. And I think as soon as they realize there is one support, they will go in, like they're starting to do now. Yeah,
it was a nice deflect to open that up from Danye, and they're still teetering around that high ground. You've got Nesh already on the point, so it's forcing CIS Hope to come in and react and start ceasing this progress for Bazooka Puppiez. Now they're still fighting around the corner. Shout going incredibly low. Will drop down to Mez's Lightning, and Unfixed couldn't land that final shot to get that kill.
And keep an eye as well on what's going on with main, because Chow is basically sat right in front of him the whole time. Mercy Holt's now online, so they're going to have to hold this down for a little bit longer, but they are making sure this Mercy stays alive.
Yeah, Chow going to use that self-destruct, going to have to wrap back around into the house. He's going to reset his mech at the moment. Pulse won't go straight on to take it out immediately, so he's not going to get the reset. Going to get whittled down. The sound barrier being used defensively at the moment by the Bazooka Puppiez to keep their push alive. And Torb going to run onto the point. It's not being as effective as they wanted it. I think Barrage from Unfixed taken out of the sky by Forsaken on the side. Resurrection comes out for Sharek, so no more DPS on the field. Bazooka Puppiez, I think they've got this one down.
It looks like they have. CIS Hope are actually starting to win the point out, mind you. Some good stall coming out of the Transcendence on the point, but still, things aren't going their way. Even with main not going down, that solo heal is really starting to cost them.
Actually, CIS Hope have wrapped this back around and held on the point for now. 2 minutes 15 on the clock, so another attempt from CIS Hope. They are sticking with this Tor because they've got the Molten Core available, so they don't want to waste that ultimate, especially if they can get a turret on a good angle and to pop that then.
I'm kind of surprised Puppiez haven't tried to zone in on the Mercy, sorry. I understand that it's hard to get on the back when you've got two tanks sat in front, but surely by now they have realized that that is the sole problem they are having right here. The res that can come through, the healing that's going through onto these tanks. Biggest weakness for CIS right now is that they can't hold down the point particularly well. With only one healer, you're going to struggle to have any staying power on that point.
But there's the Molten Core being popped at the moment, going to start peppering anyone in the way. Pulse Bomb on Nesh goes straight onto the Monkey. Not a kill as it pops out Primal Rage. Meta with the excellent placement on the bomb manages to get the turret and Mercy as well. so no support at all at the moment, but Bazooka Puppiez going to roll over the point off the back of that. Only a monkey left on the point. Just need to figure out who else needs to die as Eng is going to run in. The Swedish engineer himself can't keep it up.
There we go, and that was my worry, was once that support fell down, what was going to happen to CIS? To be fair to them, they stalled out for an awful long time there, for about almost 3 minutes on the clock for them on that first point. So, an impressive hold. They did their job, they change off now and they go back to what they used to playing, and goes back to the Lucio.
Yeah, it's about time they picked up a secondary support. I know they kind of held on to it because they wanted the Molten Core, but the Torb really not as effective as they wanted it to be on that point A defense. So maybe a little bit more, shall we say, meta might be the option here for CIS Hope on their second stage defense.
Hoping that this wasn't a terrible pun and you were actually referring to the meta there.
No, well, I was referring... No, I'm not going to go with that one. You caught me off now.
I'm not going to bite. But still, I mean, to be honest with you, I think Puppiez also slightly caught CIS off guard. They would have expected the Pharaoh that we saw it last week, but Danye did roll straight out with the Genji. Again, it took him some time. It would have made a lot of sense if we saw the Pharaoh coming through against something like the Torbjorn, because again, can't dodge those bullets, unfortunately. They are going to connect every single time, so it would have been a great zoning tool. But Puppiez had great staying power on the point. Now this second point push, things are going to change up because we've seen some comp changes coming through for CIS.
Well, Bazooka Puppiez, they got 3 ults on the board. Sound Barrier, Dragon Blade going to dive onto the back line. Main going to get cut down, goes straight through unfixed, so he's winning that duel of the Genjis. Another kill for Danye as he finds Eng. And now with a 6v3 scenario, it's just going to keep getting worse for CIS Hope.
Let's not forget, last week, one of the big criticisms that we had of CIS was unfixed Genji. It wasn't as strong as what all the other heroes that we saw him picking out. I'm still concerned this week that matched up against Danye. Danye equally wasn't one of my top 3 Genjis last week, but his play was pretty clean. Being able to slide through the back like this and bring down both of the supports, even the one that's contesting your point, that is a big play to be able to make, and I don't think we'll see the same sort of thing out of Unfixed.
Well, Payload about to hit that second checkpoint. Here comes the stall from CIS Hope. They don't want to give this up just yet, but they actually need to win the fight to keep their dreams alive. Self-destruct going right into the back of the zone. Everyone out. No kills to be found, but Meta takes down Sharek, so it's good move in terms of the Puppies. They're getting control. There's a blade onto the back. I believe it or no, it was a dash. He's going to deflect away. Can't deflect the lightning, though. He is not Emperor Palpatine.
He was farming up for his ultimate there with just 4% short as well, and Main's ult was about to come online, so that would have been the perfect stall tool for them. However, Puppiez going to find themselves pushing forward literally within 1/10 of a meter to getting themselves over the finish line. There it will come, and now we begin that final push for the third point where things do start to toughen up a little bit for the defending side. Oh,
absolutely, and look at the ultimates available for CIS on the defense, though. They're going to have a push out. They're going to be able to stall this out. They've got the Transcendence, Dragon Blade, Primal Rage. The Trans and the Primal Rage, definitely the 2 to look if you're looking for stall. And Unfixed, he's got great pick potential on that Dragon Blade.
Yeah, Sound Barrier is not too far off either, and because this last fight is very focused around the same area, you'll find that you'll get maximum value out of these defensive ultimates. Question now is, how smart do the Puppies play? How do they push in? Because if Nesh manages to pick off one of those supports, that could be big.
Well, Dragon Blade onto Mono. Sound Barrier shuts that down right away. Still alive at the moment, spending so much time on one support. And Meta just able to gat him down with those micro cannons. And Nesh going to look for a peel at the moment. Got that pulse bomb. He's thrown out onto the payload. Sound Barrier dropped. He can wait for this to pass and find a great opening to stick it down. But Danye, with a blade of his own, finds Eng. So definitely the assassination potential is really being held by Danye in this lineup of Bazooka Puppies.
You know what's most impressive about that? They used 1 ultimate, maybe 2 if you consider Nesh's pulse bomb. CIS used 4, and they still lost the fight. We said it earlier on, Unfixed Genji wasn't super impressive last week. He didn't get any kills there. Admittedly, the Sound Barrier came out, so the Lucio was very safe, but still getting no kills with that ultimate. Such a high impact ult as well. It's the main reason you pick out the Genji. It just completely denies what they wanted to do, and I like now that he's gone to the Soldier.
Transcendence on the board for Bazooka Puppiez. Mez is about to get that Primal Rage as well. You've got a Diva Bomb available. You don't want to pop that too early because it's a great stall, so everyone backs off onto the point. Does still get Meza, which is surprising under the circumstances. And Eng going to revive Sharek in the chaos and give themselves a little bit of a breather. But Bazooka Puppiez, they've still got 1 minute 20 to go, so they've got a couple more pushes under their belt.
They have, but CIS have got this in a perfect spot as well. Literally a few meters from the end means that if you can keep on respawning and rolling out, you can delay this through until overtime. It might not be the most ideal scenario knowing they get full completion, but at least you've got a good opportunity to stall out here to overtime. If it's a bit further back, for example, and they want to fight, it's going to be a bit harder to recover.
Oh yeah, they've definitely got the spawn advantage in this scenario. Now, Main, he's got a Transcendence. Nesh having a little bit of a duel with Kenzie at the moment. He is closer to that Pulse Bomb. And now going for what could be their final push at the moment. Nesh around the corner onto Sharek. He's now got the bomb available. Mono's got that sound barrier as well. Lots of ults available. Kenzie's thrown it out somewhere. Not going to kill, but it has brought out the sound barrier. Demec'd meta as Forsaken takes down Kenzie, so that's one Tracer off the field. Still one more to go. Tac fires are being popped. Pulse bomb right in front of Unfix. Zones him back. Doesn't get the damage out to get a kill just yet until he finds Meta on the back line. Now he's being dived on. Has to pull back yet again as Mono takes down Sharek. I'm pretty sure he got in his face as well. And CIS Hope still holding in this defense.
I much prefer Unfix when he's sat back on something like the Pharah or on the Soldier, being able to rain damage down from afar. This up-close nature that you have with the Genji, who's relatively unsafe and quite difficult to get away once you've dashed in unless you secure a kill, that does not seem to suit his style. This is much better from him. 5
seconds on the clock. They're going to have to go ham on this one to get onto the point. They're already getting peppered from the back line. Sharek and Xiao leading the charge on that payload, keeping it right where it needs to be for CIS Hope, as they're still contesting over the point. But who is going to break first? Self-destruct going up into the air. Doesn't find a kill, but Kenzie's already got Mono, so this is looking good for CIS Hope. No return kill coming out at the moment. It's not looking great for them. Primal Rage on the back line, going to start smacking everyone around. Maybe even get them off the point and let this overtime run out. Stuck onto Unfix, so he trades the kill. Instant res coming out of Eng. He's going to get that in his pocket. And look at this, CIS Hope holding on to the point, a fraction away from completion.
Much, much better hold there. And again, we keep on touching on it. Unfixed on Soldier was much more convincing than what his Genji was. I know we harp on about it quite a lot, but I think that's very crucial to this team's victory condition.
Well, let's see what the Bazooka Puppies can do for their own defense. I mean, it is a near completion, so it's not as if they absolutely got stomped by the defense of CIS Hope. In fact, it looked like Bazooka Puppies could have completed that if you took in their first section and second section performance. So, solid hold from CIS Hope at the end there, but really struggled in the middle sections.
Very much so. That first point was a really good hold, to be fair. Very risky strategy going with the one healer, and we saw exactly why, because once that D.Va self-destruct caught her out, that was the end of their defense. Second point, we don't really talk too much about second point because it tends to roll over quite quickly for most teams. That third point hold was much more convincing. Puppies, a little bit flailing, I felt, towards the end. I'm really curious to see what they bring out here to try and deal with Unfix, because again, they're probably going to have the same suspicions that CIS Hope had about Danye. They're going to be expecting this Pharah.
They're going to jump out of the gate. Let's see what they're going to roll with. So running for that 2-2-2 combination. They're going to have Nesh on the Soldier this time, so he can play a little bit further back like you would do on his Pharah. Danye going to be taking over Tracer duties instead. But you've got Winston and D.Va as well in that lineup, but they're going to keep with the Mercy. They saw how powerful the Resurrections were for CIS Hope on their defensive push. If they can keep their support alive a little bit longer with the help of Forsaken, it's going to be fine and dandy for them.
Same thing as well with the Mercies, because it's such a long spawn walk for the defenders. It's just so useful having her on point, because if one of those tanks goes down and contest a point and die for it, the instant res that can come through, or whether it's the res through onto Forsaken, for example, we did see a lot of reses coming through onto Zen's last week because the impact that he can have is huge, especially when he's near that ultimate. And again, with Nesh playing on that Soldier, it could have been the Widowmaker here, opting more for the Soldier, I think, because of the utility that he brings. A bit more flexible than what you get with Widow.
Well, if you were looking for options to get back to the point quickly, you really only got two. Symmetra, Teleporter, a little bit risky, haven't even seen it in OWL yet, or Mercy with those Resurrections, so definitely the go-to option out of these.
Absolutely. I'm very curious to see how it works, because last map, again, let's not forget, we were talking about the whole flexibility piece coming through for the Puppies. They didn't adapt to the situation. Kind of more the same here. They stuck to their guns for the most part, and it worked out for them. And that's kind of how you deal with these flexible teams, is you go with your strongest comp, and you just force your way through. We saw a lot of it coming out of EG against CIS last week. CIS, again, being highly flexible. Nico, once he got nano boosted on the Genji, for example, was their big pushing point. If we can see the same sort of thing coming through from Puppies, they've just got to make it click, and that's how they'll bring CIS down.
Well, that was the bomb you were talking about earlier. You just saw it on the screen, the one that took out Mono, and I believe shut down that entire push, entire defense for them. Danye on the blade. This is the triple kill he picked up earlier as well. Able to catch out the support, something Unfixed wasn't able to do just yet, but I feel we're being a little bit rough on him at the moment, Des, so we'll lay off it at the moment.
We will a little bit. Danye has been cutting supports down left, right, and center there, right? That's your job as a Genji. And that second point, we talked about how easy it is to push. Plays like that make it 10 times easier, because once the supports are off the board, away you go. And we saw exactly how close Zenyatta was to having his ultimate available. That could have stalled out the second point a lot longer. Ultimately, didn't matter as they didn't complete, but still, they got quite a long way to go on their push.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see on this one, though, how Nesh's Soldier is, because we talked a lot about certain heroes he's already good at, mainly his Widow. He's going to be able to get that positioning in Numbani. Probably play back left if you're attacking the point, just to be able to hold that high ground there and let his tanks, who are very mobile themselves, get into that front line and stop them from being able to get to him. He can always call for help as well. They can come back onto him.
I mean, we saw a lot of his Widow and Tracer last week. Soldier, I can understand why you're excited. We didn't see barely any of it last week. I think we saw it on 1 point, for example. I can't remember which one it was, but we've seen very little of it. And we've seen some, especially on Hollywood, we've seen some really impressive Soldier play. So on Numbani, a bit different. Could work out well for them as long as they can bring down Unfix on that Pharah. That's the big one for me, because last week the only thing that could keep Unfix quiet was the Widowmaker. Nesh has got to play a sublime Soldier here to be able to deny him that opportunity to essentially rain down hell from afar.
Well, not just the Widowmaker as well. You also had Valatire on that Roadhog. Something missing from the Bazooka Puppiez lineup, whether that is the hard crux for Danye's Pharah. Maybe he wanted to take a leaf out there, but use it against an opposing Pharah, but it's just not fitting in with their composition at the moment. So we're going to see how Unfix manages to do this. He's taking the Pharah Mercy, getting the damage boost on the combination. Sharek jumping straight off, dislodges the entire team. They're all scattered, they're all low. This could be a very quick capture for CIS Hope, as it's Danye and Sharek just dominating the kill feed as Chow gets a demake, but he's trapped in the room, needs to get away from that Tracer because he is in that range to die, and Danye, he takes down a Pharah. He knows a thing or two about those kinds of plays.
It's not every day that you'll see a Tracer bringing down a Pharah, but this is something we spoke about before the game. We said these aggressive Pharahs that like to drop into secure kills, you are going to find yourself facing off against these Tracers at close range. And Danye showing us exactly why it's a big risk to do. It's where you have to start weighing up the difference between aggression and stupidity sometimes. Maybe a bit of a strong word. Ever so slightly. More risk, I think, is more than anything else you might say. Risk versus reward.
I would have gone with a little bit of a softer term, but I think the message is still pretty clear about it. It's a very risky maneuver, especially in those confined hallways where you physically can't jump up even if you have your cooldowns available.
Oh, yeah.
CIS Hope, 5 minutes, pretty much 5 minutes 20 on the board. They're going to dive into the house and force Meta out of there. They all go in, one comes out. Kenzie uses the recall to get himself back onto that payload, and Danye still dashing around. He's distracting and buying a lot of time for his team, but Sharek in the meantime gets the DMEC and the kill onto Meta. So the rest of CIS Hope is doing work. Self-destruct onto the point, just going to be pushed along. And it finds Mono because the payload pushed it round the corner into the view of that support. And CIS Hope, they just keep trucking along and nothing slammed on the brakes just yet.
That at first looked like a very questionable ultimate coming out there, the self-destruct, but actually was very, very smart, because not only will it completely zone Bazooka Puppiez away from the payload because it's pushing it forward, it also means that they've got time here. They know there's going to be another few fights before they really have to go for a big engage where the self-destruct is required. They shouldn't need it to secure this second point, and rightly so. They're going to back off here and allow CIS Hope to keep on pushing forwards.
A little bit late on the contest. They managed to contest after the checkpoint was met, so you've got a huge time bank to play here with this. 6 minutes just for the final point. That is obscene for CIS Hope, and they should surely be able to get some serious ground with this. Maybe not the cap, but it might be enough to get the completion. As Kenzie, he's going on a little bit of a Solid Snake sneaky mission at the moment, but he's been spotted out by Danye.
Been a bit caught out there for the most part. Keep an eye on Nesh as well, because he's got that ultimate available. We spoke about it before. To be honest with you, when you've got aimbot on, no reason to worry. You can pop that tac visor and people will die as long as you're not being zoned by a couple of tanks.
Well, he hasn't used the tac visor yet. The game's not been going long enough for him to find a single tac visor. 85% is starting to really ramp up, and he's got it in his pocket right now. Nesh, he's got one of his own. Sound barrier's been popped. Might have to wait for that to expire now. On the backside of that sound barrier, he's going to use it to force everyone back. Unfixed, maybe staking around a little bit too long. Main for the second as well. And now, Eng just being forced back. So Bazooka Puppiez, they were tired of being rolled over. Now they put their foot in the ground, and they're going to stand on this point.
A bit tired of having their bellies rumbled by CIS Hope, you might say. And finally, that pushback does come through, like you say. Still, there's 5 minutes on the clock. That's a long time to play with here for CIS, and Puppies have got to hold out for quite a while here. And what do we keep on saying about CIS Hope? Their strength is flexibility. If they realize after 2 minutes something's not working, they can switch this out and try something else. Puppies have just got to persevere here and show real grit to hold them back.
Well, they have the absolute ultimate advantage coming into this next fight, so they've got a lot to use here, assuming that Bazooka Puppiez can't accrue those ultimates fast enough. Mono is probably the closest to his own. Kenzie finds a pulse bomb kill, self-destruct over the top onto main, so that's going to shut down one of their healers. Unfixed, still got the tac visor. If he can demake Meta first, he can get great use out of that ultimate. But Eng going to go back for the resurrection onto main. They need that second support to keep him healthy. Here we go, Meta dives onto the back line, takes out the demake. He's got the tac visor. They're having to hide behind the pillar. Immediately jumps in and bubbles to close off all avenues of attack. While that's been going on, Main gets the demake, Sharek finishes it off, and now look how far forward CIS Hope is.
Look at Main, they're picking off 2 kills as well. Kenzie in the back and brings down Mono. Both supports have now disappeared. Kenzie and Main right now are doing work.
And here we go. No one left to contest. They might be able to get one more on there. Meta at the last second jumps onto the payload to stall it out, but Danye just gets sprayed down. And look at that mid-air shot. Sharix finds it with the lightning. Now here comes a Valkyrie Mono in the air, but it should be easy pickings for Unfixed, especially if they're looking for any kind of resurrection. Mono surely going down here. Just needs a couple more shots. Sharix is the one who gets it yet again. He was playing sweeper on that last point. He was getting so many kills and cleaning up for CIS Hope.
Really, really convincing final push, and we said if it wasn't going to work out, they were going to change things up. No need, because that over-aggression was just really paying off for them, to be fair. Puppy's a bit scattered towards the end. Really good block, admittedly, of Unfix's ultimate coming out. Chow, a bit out of position, forcing himself through to the side door, trying to get away, I think, from the soldier. Just left the rest of his team completely exposed, and for CIS Hope, they were like, well, we'll take the 6 versus 5. In they pushed, and it was a nice and easy win.
What is that risk-reward again? He's obviously trying to get onto the back line and shut down one of those supports. And, well, I don't think he kept track of what Unfix was doing. And
at 50
got himself
HP,
done.
You are not going to shut down a support. He had nothing left in the
tank there. A man
there.
can dream.
He can dream. But unfortunately, that's all it was the dream.
Well, CIS Hope, they now go 2-0 in this series. Very confident on Numbani offense. Their defense really lagged a little bit. But you have to kind of weigh up, is that Bazooka Puppies being very strong on offense and poor defense? Or is it the vice versa for CIS Hope?
I think CIS have just got them figured out here. They said coming into this week that they knew what the Puppies were going to do, that they knew how they were going to counter them, and so far, you can't doubt them because they have won convincingly on both maps.
Well, we're going to go through a quick break. When we come back, we'll have our analysts break down the series so far.